Maybe you haven't noticed that I've been gone from YouTube for a really long time. And I can't really call myself a YouTuber since recently I've been averaging about one video every 6 months. But I've definitely been gone for a while, and I thought maybe you'd like to see why my Hoyas are all covered in white sulfur spots. And I thought I could talk to you about the little flat mites that have been plaguing everyone and have been wreaking havoc in my own collection as well. If that sounds interesting, stick around. So yes, I too have been dealing with the horrible flat mites, and I think honestly, if you are a Hoya collector that has been around for a while, like I have, I actually don't know how many years I've been collecting Hoyas now, but it's, you know, it's bound to happen. We were buying Hoyas, people were selling Hoyas, not knowing that these mites even existed. The very first time I heard about them, I think I was watching a Basie Plants video, and even then he was referring to them as spider mites, and it just didn't click for me. It just didn't. I was still thinking of the more traditional spider mite infestations that, you know, because I have other houseplants I'm familiar with, and that just was not what was going on. But when I finally started seeing some videos where people were describing the damage that you would see, that was when things started falling into place. So I just thought I would kind of just do a really quick update, show you where my plants are and why I've been gone for so long from YouTube. And I thought that, you know, we could talk about what successes and failures I've had. So maybe that can help you out a little bit if you're starting to deal with these issues as well, and just take it from there. I had a lot of issues happening with my Hoyas kind of all at the same time, and a lot of them fell in line with what I was starting to read and see were signs of flat mite damage. So the first and most obvious one was I had some plants that just stopped growing. Some of them dropped leaves and went down to like a 1 or 2 leaf cutting, you know, size when I had had full big beautiful plants. Tip dieback. I'm just going to show you this. This is a Hoya Kalimantan cutting, and both of those growth points, as you can see, have dead growing tips. That's probably not mite damage, since these plants have been treated for weeks and weeks, as I've already told you. Most likely it's root bound, or my inconsistent watering, which I'm still guilty of, but I'm still a mom. So yeah, there are lots of different reasons why you can have some of these signs and symptoms showing, and it doesn't have to mean flat mites. So I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm just trying to let you know the clues that kind of added up to that for me. The last one that was kind of obvious was like misshapen growth, and this is also a Hoya Kalimantan. This is what the leaves should be shaped like. I know it's hard to see under all the sulfur, but just a long lanceolate leaf that comes to a sharp point, and there. So that's not the right shape at all. Kind of like a pear shape with a rounded end. You know, it's clearly that's not what it's supposed to be. Another one that did it really bad for me was Baibua, and here's the leaf I'm going to try. The rest of these are not Baibua leaves. Those are verticillata, so don't look at those. Just this one that's kind of round and cupped, and the Baibua leaves normally look here like this one, like a big paddle that comes to a sharp point. Okay, so those are like 2 examples of just weird misshapen growth. And again, yes, it can be other pests, it can be other issues, but with all of those things put together, it seemed to me that it was, and the fact that I have a huge collection of Hoyas, that most of them have been moved at some point or another near each other. It just, the odds were that that's what I was dealing with. And when I started treating them, a lot of them took a long time to bounce back, but once they did, they started growing again, even with all of this sulfur covering their leaves and, you know, kind of making photosynthesis not so easy. And I could have rinsed these off in between each treatment, but that was not going to happen. I don't have that kind of time on my hands. So my plants have been like this, and they've been growing like gangbusters, you know. This is Hoya New Guinea Ghost. And man, it has just put on tons and tons of growth ever since, or all through the treatments. Once it started growing again, it did really well. So I couldn't be happier. I feel like I'm having some pretty good results, but it's not the case for every Hoya. So we'll just have to look at those kind of as they come, and I'm hoping to share them with you all. This is my shelf of ugly plants, and they're not all ugly, but there's a lot of ugliness in here. So this is where I have a lot of damage and a lot of plants that are what we're probably going to have to consider dead. So like right there, you can see dead stems. And why do I still have it? Well, because I was hoping that the plant would grow, and it had life in it when I stuck those stems down in the pond, and they don't have life anymore. Okay, here is Hoya helwigiana losing its last leaf. Also has other dead stems in the planter, I think. Yeah, you can see that one right there. Yeah. And that is, you know, honestly, those things were not damaged by sulfur. I don't want you to think that. I wouldn't actually be recommending sulfur to you if that was the case. Those things were damaged by my first attempt at rescuing these plants, which was the warm water bath. And it didn't work for me, and I had a lot of leaf dieback. I had a lot of leaf tip damage after that. I still have, you know, that's still something that's happening, and I am not even entirely sure if it's not the leftovers of all the damage that was done to these plants when I tried that. So I'll give you just a real basic talk about the warm water bath method, or the sous vide. Like, it's literally like a sous vide, where you're trying to get water to maintain its temperature between, and you don't quote me on this, please look up the specifics before you do it, but I think it's like between 110 and 115 or 120 degrees, and you're supposed to submerge your plants completely and then maintain that temperature. Well, that's great if you have a sous vide, okay, which is an actual container that has the heating element built in, and so that you can keep the temperature very, very steady for as long as you need to. Well, I didn't. I had a sink and a faucet. And so I'm using a candy thermometer and trying to submerge these plants. And I did it to every one of my Hoyas, you all. Every one of them. And it was like it was impossible. Either I had to leave the water running, because you had to keep them submerged for 10 to 15 minutes. Oh, here we go. Okay, sorry. I had a phone call. So I think I was saying that I had to keep these plants submerged for a certain amount of time. It was like kind of a long time. And I didn't want to just have the hot water running for that amount of time, because I could only fit, you know, a few plants in at a time. I mean, look at these things. And these are all, you know, they've all grown back. I had these things cut way back or they had died way back. Some of them were like 2 leaf cuttings. This one. was 2 leaves. That was all that was there. And many of them were like that. They had died back pretty substantially. And I was just doing like a, you know, a last-ditch effort before packing them up and moving them. And it was all bad. I lost a lot of very valuable Hoyas. And I don't even want to think about it right now, how many, because a lot of my plants were purchased. I've had them for years, you know, and they were purchased back when plant prices were like really steep, and that's fine. It was my choice to buy them. Like any other plant, it's a risk, but it definitely sucked that it wasn't even the pests that I had attacking my plants that actually took them. It was me using someone else's advice and treating my plants, and I didn't use that advice very well or responsibly, and also it just wasn't a realistic thing. I mean, who's gonna be able to look at the size of this? I can't submerge that whole thing in my kitchen sink. I can't. And I have Hoyas that are much bigger than that, or I did. Things have changed. So I think I'm going to, at some point, when maybe I've had some counseling, at some point I'd like to go back through my old videos and my old blogs, because I do have blogs where I listed all the plants that I had, all the Hoya plants that I had in my house, and I'll just tally up what's made it through and what things were killed. And like I said, you know, it's pretty crappy when you have an infestation that is killing your plants, but it hurts kind of, or it did for me. It hurt a little bit or a lot more that the way that I tried to treat them was a lot more harmful in the end. So, or at least it killed them off more quickly than the mites were killing them off. I don't know. So let's look at these leaves because they are stunning. Aren't they beautiful? Even with their ugly sulfur spots all over them, they're just beautiful. That is also Hoya verticillata. So sorry, I digress. The results are that I have a lot of plants that are lost, unfortunately. And I don't have a lot of space in my new house. I downsized my collection, not just Hoyas, but also my other house plants quite significantly. And so this just helped me along that path. Although probably some of the plants that I lost wouldn't have been ones I chose to get rid of. So that's kind of a shame. After ravaging my plants with the warm water bath method, I decided to move on to sulfur. And as you can see, I did not choose to wash off my plants in between. You're supposed to treat once a week. I think it's different. People say different things. So some people said like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I also read 6 weeks. And I went ahead and took it next level and did 8 weeks of treating my plants. Why? Because I wanted to. So that is dragging these plants out. And here's a Hoya Rebecca. So, you know, it's like a crazy grower. You have to treat every stem from top to bottom, all the way to the bottom of the stem, the bottom and top of each leaf. It took forever, okay? And at first I was measuring the sulfur out, you know, real carefully and following directions. And I am not recommending that anybody decides to do what I did and treat your plants however you want instead of how it is listed to do it on the packaging. It's just that, I mean, look at this. How many leaves are on this plant? Just this one plant. There's no way. So I started just pouring sulfur into my spray bottle with no measurement, just as much as I felt like. filling that water bottle with water and then shaking. And I mean, like, you had to shake it a lot because it does not, the powder doesn't want to stay suspended in your water. And like, here's that in the bottom there is sulfur that literally just ran through out the bottom of these pots when they were sitting in water. So it does not want to stay in a liquid form. It wants to stay in a powder form. And so you have to shake it a lot. And I usually just did like a couple leaves, like 3 or 4 or 5 leaves, and then I would shake and then spray more and then shake and spray more, just to make sure that I was keeping it really well suspended in the water and getting good coverage on the leaves. So that was how I did it. 1 time a week, just pick a day. And I just knew that Wednesday I was going to be dragging all these plants outside because I did take them outside. I don't love the smell of sulfur, and I figure outside air can only help. So better circulation and all. And I sprayed everybody top and bottom, from the tops of stems to the bottom and top and bottom of leaves. So I can only hope that this is going to work. And this is not a video where I'm telling you do this because it worked for me, because we're still in the let's find out if it did work for me stage. And I'm happy to continue reporting on how things are going. But I definitely don't have the answers for you. And like I said, I'm still dealing with losses. So I haven't even seen, you know, the end of whatever caused the demise of these Hoyas. Multiple problems probably, you know, it's probably flat mites, root rot, other infestations, who knows? God only knows. So yeah, that's how I treated these plants. And my next steps are going to be to wash these all off in a video and share with you kind of like a before and after. So I'm really excited to do that, and that's what I'm going to be filming hopefully tomorrow, so that I can get it out like within a week after posting this video, just doing a little catch up with you. So anyway, if you have questions about how I did this, and just remember, I am not recommending anything about what I did to you, and I'm not even telling you that it worked. I'm only telling you that as of right now, it's kind of working. If that gives you no hope, I'm so sorry. But yeah, these flat mites are for real. They're really bad, stupid creatures. Yeah. So I hope you all are doing well. I hope you don't have flat mites in your Hoyas. And I hope you have a good week, and I'll be checking in with you again soon, doing some before and after, like kind of glow ups, right? Look at this thing. How did she even photosynthesize? Oh my gosh. Have a good week, everybody.